All right, so here we are today with the newest episode of A Connector Plus 100. My part-time co-host Stephen Leo is still missing in action. He's involved in his EMBA, Executive MBA Program Action. So he's busy with that. We bumped heads the other day, and he mentioned some possible new things going on. Maybe there's a project we can work on regarding the MI8 system, which is the platform that Foxconn has developed for electric vehicles. So, Stephen's got a big interest in the electric vehicle space, and I do as well. And particularly, we both have a lot of commitment and passion in the area of renewable energy, clean energy resources. And so we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, Stephen could get back on here in the near future and talk about some of that. One Taiwan-related bit of news. I know NVIDIA just had a big meeting today, and the reason I say Taiwan-related news because the CEO Jensen Huang is Taiwanese, although he's been spending most of his time in the States, and most of the production and marketing that goes on for the company is done there. Although a lot of their components are probably made here in Taiwan by Taiwan Taiwan Semiconductor. And anyhow, they're doing great things. And I'm just fascinated by the company. This guy just seems to be an incredible marketer, not just a, solid techie, but really a visionary. And even Jim Cramer, Mad Money, can't stop singing his praises about the level of vision that Jensen has, and even comparing him to a Da Vinci. So to get accolades like that from Jim Cramer, no easy thing. And Jim is a character. I enjoy watching him. He is both informative and performative, and that's a good combination. He reminds me a little bit of one of my favorite teachers of all time, Mr. Doria, who I'm guessing is probably no longer with us, more than likely, unless he's as old as Jimmy Carter. But Mr. Doria, he used to come into the class, and he was like a total deadpan guy, kind of a weird looking guy. He looked a little bit, I don't want to say like Adolf Hitler, but like one of the, I don't know if any of you know the band Sparks. There's a documentary that came out about them recently. They're two brothers, the Male brothers, and one is like this really deadpan kind of Hitlerish looking guy, I guess mostly because of like the little Hitler style mustache, but like a real deadpan kind of weird looking guy. And then his brother, who is more the pop star singer kind of guy. But anyhow, Mr. Doria didn't have one of those mustaches, but just had this real deadpan thing going. And he was a real character. And so, I remember one time I asked him, "Oh, Mr. Doria, are you like, I don't know, Humphrey Bogart fan, just for argument's sake?" And he looked at us and said, "No, I'm an Electric fan." And he did not break from the deadpan. He did not break from character. And I'll tell you what, that was like the first teacher I had that really made learning fun. And I mean, here it is, my God, dozens of years later, and I still remember it clear as day. And my hat's off to teachers that know how to make education something fun and interesting and engage students, and enable them to connect with it and get beyond just kind of the doldrum side of the classroom, the dreariness of the classroom, and just make it pertinent to life. So hopefully, in some ways, my podcast does that a little bit. That would make me happy if it does. That it's adding some value to your life, for a few minutes here and there as you listen. What else is going on? Yeah, just been watching the market as usual and listening to a lot of the echo chamber going on and on about, just repeating the same things. A lot of the Tesla, you got the Tesla bulls, which I tend to, I guess favor the bullish side of the Tesla crowd, although, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid that deeply. And I guess I should say, I think I mentioned before, I'm an indirect investor in Tesla through some ETFs that I invest in. So actually their stock was up again today, over 700. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not giving any financial advice here. I like what Tom Nash, one of my favorite financial YouTube guys, how he always disclaims and, yada, yada, yada. might just be the ravings of a crazy man. So I can certainly attest to that. I've been known to rave from time to time, and I think some people, including myself, maybe think I'm a little bit crazy. So certainly not giving any financial advice here, but another stock that I am tracking and am directly invested in, for the record, just for disclosure, is their ticker sign is FUV. The company name is Arcimoto, and they're an electric vehicle maker of a small three-wheeled vehicle that basically performs like a small car, but technically, I guess in the United States and most legalities, it would qualify as a motorcycle. Well, they've been getting shorted pretty heavy lately. They've had some hit pieces done on them by a few different companies, including Hindenburg, who's kind of one of the masters on doing hit pieces. And the thing there, I guess, it's been educational for me is, you hear about stuff like this happening, how people will attempt to manipulate the markets, and it's just some kind of a distant concept that you hear about and kind of, And in fact, when you're actually investing in companies that this is happening to, then obviously becomes, much more of a personal thing. And so this has, been a little bit like that. And I think this is a company with a lot of potential, a lot of upside. They're still young in the game. They're just coming out of COVID. They've got some interesting products. I think they've got some pretty good management. They also have recently they've hired a fellow. I forget his name. He's I think he's Indian born, and he's been worked with Mahindra, who's a major player in the Indian vehicle space. And so he's going to be working with them on helping them with international sales, which I think is great. And in particular, I think India is a fantastic market for both the electric vehicles to help with pollution issues and better energy alternatives, and also with the crowding there. I think that's something that would do extremely well. So he's going to be working there, I guess, in other areas in Asia. So who knows? Maybe we have some opportunity even to cooperate on the Taiwan side of marketing and sales for this product. But anyhow, they've been getting slammed pretty heavy. Their stock was growing for a while. I mean, in the recent tech crash, where most of the tech stocks have been down, it was as well. And it started to recover a little bit, and then the hit pieces came out based on their earnings, and they're just coming out of COVID, and so basically this is how the short players work. If something, it just kind of like the law of the jungle. I mean, the lions tend not to attack the big strong deer is out in front of the herd. If one falters, that's the one that they go after and try to bring down. And so no different here in the jungle, which is Wall Street. So anyhow, that's something that's kind of interesting, and I've been following that a little bit more closely. But again, I believe in the concept. I think it's great that not only a company like Tesla, who's doing products that are clean energy products for the more conventional passenger car type thing, as well as trucks, etc., in addition to their electrical power generation business, but also some other players like that. No, I don't think Arcimoto has the potential that a Tesla has. Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, at this point in time, I think they're still far too new of a company, although they have a lot of good things going on. They've got new factory that they've already purchased and are moving into to help them scale up towards their target. I think I mentioned before they're working with Sandy Munro and Associates. Sandy has a strong conviction that he can help them reach their pricing targets of $12,000 a vehicle. Right now, they're up around, I guess roughly 18,000. So Sandy and they believe with scale, they can bring the costing down, which I think will help them a lot. I think also too, if you start generating some, in addition to what they're doing in the States, in the limited markets are now, as that scales, and also if you're able to scale Asian side here. I think in particular, I think it's just like an ideal transportation vehicle for crowded Asian cities, Southeast Asia, India, even East Asia. I could see just right here, like in Taichung where I live, or Taipei, how, and particularly for the last mile delivery segment, with like their Deliverator package, and even their first responder package too. I think that's great, because a lot of times I'll be out in the streets here, and you'll hear the ambulance coming, and you're in traffic, whether I be driving my car or driving my scooter, and people are trying to, scoot over, and there's like sometimes there's just literally nowhere you can move, and the ambulance kind of has to wait until people can figure out how to, make a space for it. And obviously, in that kind of a scenario, if it's a serious injury, I mean, seconds make a difference. So if something like this can kind of, cruise by on the shoulder as needed to, quickly get the, injured party, to the hospital or to wherever they're going to get the needed emergency care, I mean, more power to it. So I think there's a lot of application in that, as well as, the FUV thing to just be a commuter type vehicle, as well as the Roadster one, which is kind of like a more upscale motor trike kind of thing. That looks like a lot of fun. I could see, plenty of applications here for just recreation, which is a growing sector in this marketplace. So that's going to be interesting. It remains to be seen how this will all shake out, but I think they have a pretty good management, and they have adequate funds in place to kind of take things to the next level. So we'll just kind of have to, hold on here and just kind of not get distracted by the shorts. And like the CEO Mark is saying, to put the long johns on. He's got some new merch out, some new swag, and they have everything except shorts, because they've got more shorts than they know what to do with right now. So they're going for the long johns. They want the more bullish long-term investors, and so I'm following along. I'm hanging in there, and a little bit warm for long johns here in Taiwan most of the time, but I get the concept, and I'm right there. I'll ride along with that. So what else is going on I could talk about? Unfortunately, like so often, being away from the States this long, but even so, every time I see some kind of a shooting type incident, which I think in the last couple of days I've seen a couple, and I've got to say that I love guns. I think they're great tools. I've used them more for recreation, for sport, I guess I should say, for target practice, that kind of thing. I've never really been a hunter. I think I would if I had the opportunity, but I wouldn't hunt unless I ate what I killed. I don't think there's any sense whatsoever in killing an animal and not using it. If you want to just hit targets and use bottles or paper targets or cans or whatever. But anyhow, it just really troubles me to see that. Yes, I know all the gun advocacy, the right to bear arms and whatnot. I get that, but I don't know. The system sure doesn't seem to be working all that well. One thing I think I've mentioned before here in Taiwan is that guns are not legal, and bullets are not legal. And I mean, I know there's it's easy to make a gun. It's not as easy to make bullets. And basically, Taiwan is pretty safe primarily because there's just really no guns around, and unfortunately, guns make it too easy to commit a violent act, and it continues to happen. So my heart really goes out to people in the States that are impacted by that, and it brings me down. And but that's just something to say, but it really does. I mean, I just hope there can be some progress made on that score. I'd like to see America become a safer place than it is. Still have a lot of friends and family there. So what else is going on here? The mass transit, the mass rapid transit line here in Taichung is back in service again. Been enjoying that. I know a lot of people here complain about it and say that It's kind of like the road to nowhere. I mean, there's just one line, and it's just like any transit system. You got to start somewhere. And sure, one line is just one line. To have a good and robust transit system, you need a web. I mean, it's just no different than the internet. I mean, when I first started out on the internet, like 1994, I mean, to call it the internet, okay, sure. I mean, government and educational institutions, they were already way connected. But as far as the commercial side or the popular side, I mean, just starting out, there was next to nothing. So it was just really easy to get around because they're mostly just like a few lines. And then ultimately the web started developing and you just get inundated with all this information and all these sites, which is what basically made Google. They had a way of, indexing them and cataloging them and helping you navigate them. And so hopefully someday that'll be the case here. That's what happened up in Taipei. I was there when they were first starting out the MRT system up there. And it was a joke. I remember the first line was like 2 stops. And I'm like, okay. And, but obviously that's developed and they kept on building lines. And finally, nowadays they even have a transit system that will take you from Taipei City out to Taoyuan, which is another a good-sized city in northern Taiwan, and even into former Taipei County, which they call New Taipei City. So it's a robust system, and it's extremely easy to get around there now. And of course, costs an arm and a leg, of course, but I think they're making money. The other city in Taiwan that has a system is down in Kaohsiung, and I don't think that's profitable. And again, it's a similar situation. There's not really a web yet. There's not really a system. It just, I think, a line, maybe 2. But anyhow, it's still nice. Actually, where my arm is pointing right over there is where the MRT is. I'm kind of close to the end of the line on this side of town, and actually it ends kind of over by a brand new Costco, which is kind of like that whole area is just like, I don't know, it's like they sprinkle fairy dust on it, and it just kind of grows like magically. I go exercising over that way, and every time I come back, I just kind of look around and just like, what? Buildings are just popping up out of nowhere. But whatever, it's I guess it's done wonders for the price on my house here. Although I'm not looking to sell, but progress. So anyway, what else can I talk about that's going on here? Yeah, I guess that pretty well covers some of the things. Oh, on a personal side, I have I'm a volunteer and kind of like a consultant for a foundation that they have a couple of homes. They have like an orphanage, and they also have a group home, like a foster home. And I'm more active over there, so I kind of help arrange volunteers over there and help them with some other resources and whatnot. And I got to say, wow, that really it gives me a lot of added meaning in life, a lot of joy and contentment. There's some great kids over there. I do some classes with a group of them in English, and also just kind of hang out and play basketball and just be an uncle, I guess, or an older brother or whatever. And it's really great. It's great to get to know some of these kids. And my friend Amy, I stopped by recently. She's got like a small restaurant, I guess a cafe or whatever. And so I stopped in there for a meal, and she said, Mark, you don't come by much this way during the day. What's up? And I said, well, I've been working over at the home there. And she said, oh, so you're working with those kids? I'm like, yeah. She says, well, you know what? When you work with kids, it helps keep you young. And I'm like, a lot of times people say things and you just kind of, you don't even think about it. Just, like a lot of talk is just talk. It's like people, making sounds, which is just like, I'm here, you're there, I'm here. We're affirming each other's presence and whatnot, but it's not always significant. And actually I stopped and thought about what she said, and she's like, she's really right. Because one of the benefits of my being there is just like, these kids have so much energy, and a certain amount of innocence and hope for the future and whatnot. And it just kind of a nice thing. It does have a kind of rejuvenating factor. So I will definitely take that. I mean, I have no problems with that whatsoever. I mean, that's definitely a feature, not a bug by any means. So that's been really good. And on closing, I'll be taking the Taiwan high-speed rail, which for those of you that don't know, it's basically like the bullet train in Japan. It's the same trains, it's the same system. It's really nice. Unfortunately, some of you might know there was like recently a bad crash over on the eastern side of Taiwan, which is where the bad crashes always happen. Um, so that kind of weighs on me. If I think about going to eastern Taiwan, I really have to think twice, do I want to ride the train there? But the high-speed rail system is much more modern and has much better software and integration. So even if there's like senses like any seismic activity beyond a certain point, it'll actually automatically slow stop the trains. I mean, it's not going to move until those tremors are over, and it determines that it's safe for them to move on again. So I'll be going up north to see my son and hang out with him, and it's really convenient. I mean, it's like a car trip of better part of 2 hours. You could be there in like 43 minutes. So it's nice. I mean, it just rides well. It's a smooth ride. Um, you hang out there with your smartphone or whatever, and on the bullet train, and it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck. So on that note, I think I'll conclude it here. Covered a few different things. Just kind of say hi and keep you updated with some of the stuff that I'm into. I'll try to get Stephen back on here real quick, and maybe we could talk a little bit more about what exactly the MIH platform that Foxconn came up with entails, and get into that a little bit more, because that's something that sounds really interesting to me. So until then, this is Mark, and be good.